Good morning, Bright Stars of Bethlehem supporters. My name is Tracy Ortman, and I'm the Director of Development for Bright Stars of Bethlehem, and we are so excited for you to join us today for our webinar. We have a great presentation for you. As we get started, a reminder that our mission is to support Dar al-Khalama University. We raise support and awareness for Dar al-Khalama University, the first and only university for arts and culture in all of Palestine. And our mission is for all people in Palestine to have life in abundance. And what an amazing, joyful thing for us to focus on. As we get started, please remember that you can type your questions into the chat. And when we get to the end of today's presentation, we will try to address as many of those as possible. We are also recording today's event, so when we get done, we will send out an email so you can rewatch or share this with your friends. Today, we join together to celebrate the power of art for the emotions it elicits and the meanings it has. It heals and it speaks volumes. It brings power and gives voice to the voiceless. It unites communities and it changes minds and it transcends the ages. It's something that we can hold on to in this moment. Today, we want to share with you some very special artwork and the amazing woman behind it, along with the hope that it can bring for all of us, especially in times like this. Before we get to the hope and this amazing artwork to share with you, we want to tell you what is currently happening in Gaza and the West Bank. So I would like to welcome our shining star in Bethlehem, Reverend Dr. Mitri Raheb, as he gives an update on what's happening in Palestine. And then he will invite our dear friend and Bright Stars ambassador, Lucy Janjigian, to join us to look at her art and talk about resilience. So welcome, Mitri.
Thank you, Tracy. And hi, everyone. I'm glad to see so many friends joining us today from the States, but also a few from other countries. Let me start maybe with the political situation, and then I will zoom into some highlights of our ministry. Unfortunately, the genocide continues in Gaza with no ceasefire in sight. There is now over 10 months that this genocide continues, and the world seems to have accepted that. And for us, having staff, having students, having friends there with whom we are on daily basis in contact, and seeing, the agony they face with no food, with no clean water, with bombing still their daily experience, it's heart-breaking. Maybe some of you saw a video that I shared yesterday on social media with one of our staff working with kids through art when Israel actually an airstrike happened just next door to them, and we see them frightened. This is the daily experience of people in Gaza. Now, coming to the West Bank, the situation is also very difficult. The north of the West Bank, Tul Karim, Jenin, is like a mini Gaza, with Israeli forces destroying infrastructure and assassinating young people on daily basis. We see settlers on roads in the West Bank attacking Palestinian cars. So it has become really scary for many people to travel between the north and the south, between one city and the other in the West Bank, with over 10,000 Palestinians from the West Bank that Israel detained in the last 10 months, including one of our students, master students, who is now detained since over 5 months with no trial, what they call administrative detention. So the situation is really very difficult. And just yesterday, the Israeli Knesset rejected officially the two-state solution with a majority of votes. And so this is now the international community is really has to play a role to show that they are really serious about peace in this region. Also, we are waiting tomorrow for the ICJ to bring their opinion on what's happening in Gaza, and we look forward for that opinion. This is in short about the political situation, but let me share with you just few highlights because of time constraints of some of the highlights that we have been experiencing here in the last few months. So let me just share with you this PowerPoint. I hope you can see the screen, the full screen. This last month was really exciting time to see the graduation projects of our students in the BA as well as in the master program. This is, for example, in contemporary art. One of our students, she drew on these ceramic tiles important aspects of her life during these months. Amazing. Another students, again in the contemporary art, she's from the Hebron area. She is physically challenged with her eyes, and yet you can see her work is an amazing work and talent that she is showing. She will graduate again this summer. Another student, actually also physically challenged. She is having a problem with hearing, so she is deaf. And actually her artwork, this piece that you can see, is about the life of a person that is physically challenged with hearing, and the silence they experience actually in this world. Amazing piece of art, installation art. Another amazing students who did this beautiful and very unique art piece, actually talking about the distance. She comes from Bethlehem, but she is married in the West Bank in Jenin. And so she has to travel between Bethlehem and Jenin over and over again. And the distance plays a big role today in Palestine in terms of mobility. And this is what she tried actually to talk about in this amazing artwork that she did. But also, just to give you another example from our graphic design students, and their project that they they presented, and their parents were there. They were very proud of them. The teachers were there, and these students will be amazing students in Palestine. But also this year we will have the first two MA cohorts will be graduating, and so they were defending their thesis. with professors from Dar al-Kalima, but also external evaluators. And again, the families were so proud of them. Again, another student in the master program that did his, it's a project and the thesis. He's also one of our teachers in the art department, Munder. Very exciting work to see all of this creativity being shown at Dar al-Kalima within 1 month. I mean, the energy, the creativity is stunning. But also in these last 2 months, we had 5 international conferences that we did, 2 of them in Istanbul and 3 in Cyprus. I want just to share a few of them. We gathered around 30 of the top theologians globally in Istanbul to discuss the issue of theology after Gaza. How is what's happening in Gaza affecting the theology? And the theology cannot be the same before Gaza as after Gaza. Amazing scholars and theologians, and all these papers actually will be published and will be in print early next year. This will be amazing anthology with 36 chapters in the book. So stay tuned. Another conference we did, one of the 5 conferences we did in Cyprus was on culture, religion, and the body. You know, the issue of the body is an issue that was very seldom discussed in Palestine. It's a taboo subject, and people and scholars try to avoid it. So we gathered 15 scholars from the region, from the Middle East, to talk about this issue, again, for the first time. And those of you who are interested to watch some of these short presentations, 7 minutes each, you can find them on our website, Dar al-Kalima website. Let me come to talk about Gaza. I mean, for me, it was, you know, amazing to see that we have 36 volunteers currently working in Gaza in 7 counties, reaching to over 3,600 kids with over 180 activities that they do. You can see they are in the Gaza city where life is terrible, with no food, no water whatsoever. And you know, to see the creativity that these kids in Gaza are showing all the time. And this is a kind of psychosocial intervention that we do. It's an art therapy. And, you know, these kids and these students and volunteers, they have been displaced sometimes for 9 times. But they are still working and fighting for a culture of life in the context of a culture of death. On the 15th of September, there will be the grand opening of Rami Zahihouri Innovation and Entrepreneurial Hub, which looks amazing. You can see here just one picture of what is awaiting you there while the construction on the Hospitality Educational Center is continuing, and we hope to have the grand opening of that in January. I will stop here. I could go on and on and on, but I was given only 10 minutes because today actually we are I would like to welcome a very dear friend, an accomplished artist, Lucy. Lucy is an Armenian, Palestinian, a talented painter, one of our bright stars of Bethlehem ambassadors, a voice for justice in Palestine, and illustrator of several books, including her recently published memoir that Dar al-Kalima University Press brought out under the title Divine Encounters, Memoirs of an Armenian Palestinian Painter from Jerusalem and Beyond. This book is available on Amazon as paperback as well as on Kindle. Welcome, Lucy. Lucy, I hope you can turn your video on so that we can see you and hear you. Great. Here you are. You are muted still, so you have to unmute yourself.
Okay.
Yes. Welcome, welcome, Lucy.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And good morning, everybody. Happy to be with you all.
Lucy, tell us, where were you born and what are your oldest memoirs of Jerusalem?
I was born in the wonderful holy city of Jerusalem that has seen no peace, but it is beautiful and it is wonderful because we were able to visit the churches at the holy sites during feasts, and I love taking our guests and showing it to them. And Jesus's life would come real life to us, and each feast we were able to spend and have services at the place, like the Shepherd's Field, Bethlehem, the Holy Sepulchre, the Garden of Gethsemane, very, very important and beautiful sites. I loved that and took my guests and friends to see these places. And then school was wonderful. We had students from all religions, and nobody checked who was Christian, Muslim, Jew, whatever. And we got along very well. And we had students from different countries too, which made life interesting until the early and mid 40s, when European Zionists, we were living with local Israeli people at peace, as far as I know. And then when the Zionists started coming into Palestine, and with their intention to take over, and they were the best terrorists. They were blowing up soldiers, British soldiers, as they were driving. They were demolishing buildings like the King David Hotel, where over 90 people were killed while working. They went in as Palestinian milkmen with big cans of milk, supposedly, that were bombs, and demolished the building. Over 90 people died. One of them was my aunt and one of our students who had just graduated and was working in the building. And they demolished hotels like the Semiramis Hotel. Everybody sleeping in it was killed, innocent people. And it was getting to be unsafe to be out. You never knew when somebody was going to be blown up and you were going to be killed or whatever. So life changed and it started being scary. And then when 48 came, and the closer we got to May 15, which was the day when the British mandate would be ending, it got even worse. and we had to leave our home and come to the school, which was across the street, and Jerusalem became a divided city, and the only place you could go in or out of Jerusalem with a permit, if it was granted, was from Mandelbaum Gate, which was below our balcony. Our house was at the point where people went and came out and in out of Jerusalem from one side to the other. It was very unpleasant. It was scary. And then there was a truce in June, and they said fighting would get worse. So we had to leave Palestine and went to Jordan, which was much safer and quiet. But we had seen enough, and there was a lot of bombing and demolishing, and Palestine was at war.
So, Lucy, you are one of few people still around who experienced peaceful coexistence between Christian, Jews, and Muslim in Palestine, where everyone was Palestinian, even the Jews were Palestinians. And then you saw actually how slowly Zionists actually started to take over more land and to kick out more Palestinians, which is actually still happening today. Now, let me ask you about your connection to Dar al-Kalima, because it was, I think, a unique story when you heard about Dar al-Kalima and what decision you took after that.
Yeah. Well, I had a very good friend. She was a harpist, and she we went to the same church, Westside Presbyterian, and she told me her daughter was coming over. So I said, why don't you come over for tea? And her daughter was the wife of David Wildman, who works with the Methodist Church and is very involved in Europe, and he is in charge of Europe and the Middle East. So anyway, the wife and my friend came over for tea, and we were in the midst, I was in the midst of moving from New Jersey to California. And she said, and what are you doing with all your art? I said, it's a problem. I don't know what to do. I'm shipping it to California. And she said, why don't you give some to Dar al-Kalima? And Dr. Reverend Mitri Raheb is in charge. I said, oh, I know him. And he's somehow related. His wife is related by marriage. And so that night, I sent Reverend Mitri an email and said, would you like 33 paintings of the journey to resurrection that I have? The next morning, I get an email and it says, sure, we'd love to have it. So I was delighted that it was on exhibit. And so I got a carpenter to come to my garage, and for almost a week, he built boxes and he packed these. Oh, the paintings were on exhibit. I took them off before time. They weren't happy with me anyway. And I got them to the garage, and he was able to pack them. And a friend who worked at the airport sent a plane, a truck that took them, and they put them in a plane, and they were sent to Bethlehem, which thrilled me. And there was going to be an international symposium that year, and they were going to be exhibited then, and I was supposed to talk, and my friend was going to come with me, and she was going to run workshops. Anyway, I think it was the first Gaza attack of Israel on Gaza.
Right.
And the Reverend Mitri kept saying, no, we're going to be on. Finally, a bomb came close to Bethlehem, and he said, we have to cancel. So the whole thing was canceled, which was terrible because Reverend Mitri had arranged so many speakers from different countries and so on. So that was the end of that part.
Yeah. I mean, we are so grateful for your paintings. They are treasured here and they are exhibited all the time, and people really are always amazed looking at them. And actually, many pastors took pictures because they thought they can do beautiful sermons on each of your paintings. But talking about paintings, how did actually painting become a passion for you, Lucy?
That was really miraculous because I'm trained as a scientist. I'm a plant ecologist from Emory University. I got my master's degree, and I was enjoying it until we started night classes in painting in the town of Tenafly, where I lived. I went with my friend and we started painting. And from the first moment, I thought, wow, this is what I think I would love, because I felt a freedom. You could do whatever you wanted on this empty canvas. It's you can express yourself. And from there, we went to somebody's basement, took lessons there. And then I had done about 4 maybe paintings, and we had to move from Tenafly to Franklin Lakes. And my daughter was in junior high, and she told her art teacher, she was about 10 years old, my mother is an artist. I had just done maybe 3 or 4 paintings, and the art teacher got excited and said she'd love to see them. So she came over for lunch and she saw the few pieces I had. And this was really the key. And it's through people, and amazing people, my daughter, the art teacher, and she introduced me to Victor D'Amico, who was the person in charge of education and research at the Museum of Modern Art. And he ran a summer art class in an old barge he had found and pulled over with the help and made it into a summer school. And you could register by the week. And it was on the beach. You could go in any time in the morning, at night, it was left open. And this art teacher introduced us to Long Island, to Victor D'Amico, and got me registered. And I must admit, my husband was 100% supportive. Otherwise, I couldn't have done it, because we rented a small cabin. And every morning, I sleep late in the mornings. This was early for me to get up for this. But anyway, I was up at 5 and I'd go to the barge and paint until 5 in the evening and go on the beach and collect articles and things and make collages. We could do whatever we wanted. And Victor would go around and guide us, never tell us what to do, suggest things to us, and open our minds to further. And then on Saturdays, everybody who painted that week, we'd have a little exhibit and our families would be attending, and he would talk about us and our work. And
which year was that, Lucy?
that was in the early 70s.
Early 70s.
Early 70s, about 73.
So basically, you have been now painting since 50 years, which is a great accomplishment. And I wonder, was the genocide ever a theme in your art?
Yes, both my parents were victims of the Turkish massacre of the Armenians from 1915 to 1918, 23, some whatever. And I heard their stories. And when I started painting, I thought I could maybe illustrate some of these things. And they came from my heart, because I had heard my father tell his story so many times. And I had by then read the book of the 40 Days of Musadagh. And I started doing my parents' stories. And because of my scientific background, I think this is how it influenced my art, is I would take a theme and look at it and say, how else can I illustrate this? How else can I show this? Different angles. Therefore, I started working in series. Like the series I sent to you was the story of Jesus's last week, Journey to Resurrection, 33 paintings. This one is Uprooted, and it tells the story of my father. There's 4 paintings. And my mother's story was completely different, even though it was the same genocide. She was orphaned, put in an orphanage, put with a Muslim family, Turkish citizens who treated her beautifully. My father was up a mountain where they were stuck for 60 days before they were rescued. And then I did, after my father's and mother's story, then I did universal genocide. There has been more genocides than the Armenian, and there's been more genocides than the Holocaust, which we always hear about. So I did universal uprootedness, and that was very not popular, but in demand. And actually, the Armenian TV shows it every April 24 in their TV.
I think we have some of these paintings to show from Uprooted. Maybe you can quickly
Palestinian
just,
story.
yeah.
Yeah, this
Yeah,
is
please comment on them. Yeah.
Yeah, this one is a Palestinian family who were exiled in the Nakba. Yeah, it's these paintings, the 3 paintings about Palestinian Nakba, which is the catastrophe, the occupation. And this one is another one, which I'll talk about later when I come to near the end, when we suggest to the artists in Gaza what to do. And this one is showing children of Palestine behind barbed wires, and right now it's under bombs and so on. So these 3 paintings are in the gallery in Washington, D.C., Gallery Al-Quds, which is Gallery of Jerusalem.
So basically, Lucy, you really witnessed 2 genocide, one as an Armenian, where your parents and grandparents went through that genocide, and the genocide now that is going on in Gaza and has been actually going on for so long in Palestine. Now, looking at this last painting of the children of Palestine, and seeing maybe the picture that I showed from our work in Gaza with kids, what advice do you have for a young artist, especially students at Dar al-Kalima in Bethlehem and in Gaza, as an accomplished artist?
Okay. I'd love to share this story with you, and I would like to see the picture of that. Could you go back with the pictures, please, and show the one of Palestine with the fire and the tents? Whoever's doing the pictures, please.
Yeah,
Anyway.
the Nakba with the Nakba one with the tents and the fire.
Right. Yeah. We were at church, and our minister said, we're going to have a painting session, and I would like each one of you to do the most dramatic or hurtful or exciting or hurtful painting. Express your feelings in a painting. And this was in 1972, I think. And I thought, oh my gosh, I have to say, when we left our home in Jerusalem, when the fighting was going on in Palestine, I was going to do this at the end, near where we were going to tell the artists how to express themselves in trauma. And that was a trauma when we had to leave first our house. We had to leave everything and move out, went to the school, stayed there. Then the war was going to get worse, so we had to leave our house, leave Palestine, where there was war in April 1948. Palestine was burning with fire and bombs and killing, and you couldn't go where you wanted. You never knew when fighting would start. It wasn't safe at all. So we went to Jordan, crossed the river Jordan, and came to Amman, where we stayed in a school that the bishop ran, and each class had so many families staying in it. We were 5 people, 4 children and my mother. My father never left St. George's School. He stayed there and protected it from being taken over by both Israeli and Jordanian soldiers. He kept it neutral at the risk of his life, but no soldiers were able to come into the school and take over, even though they wanted it because it had a high roof and they could see over and shoot better. But it was kept neutral. But we left and went to Amman. Amman then was quite primitive. So I thought I would do this period, this dramatic, hurtful period. I couldn't believe it. Without realizing it, my tears were running. I was crying as I was doing this. And I made it in collage because Amman was very quiet, was very primitive. It wasn't all just tents, but to show the peacefulness and the relaxed comfort and all. It's changed completely now. Simple, and it was hot and sort of. So I used collage, and there were pieces of wood that I was able to show the towns, sort of, the River Jordan that we crossed. Palestine was in flames. And as I'm crying, I'm painting, I'm putting sand and cutting tents and things. So this to me was the most, it hurt me, but it brought out so many feelings that sort of cleansed me afterwards. And I had never thought of it. And this had been since 48, so 58, 68, 25 years later, I did this. And as I said, in the midst of tears, but it got it out of my system.
Yeah.
And it showed what we left and where we came.
And I think this speaks very much to the role that art can play in the context of genocide,
Right.
especially now. Lucy, I think we can talk and talk and talk, and having read your memoirs, it's it's really the story of a whole century that you are telling in that book. But recently, you were in Palestine just a few weeks ago on a solidarity trip to Palestine. And I know that many of the people who went with you are with us. I see their names there. They are listening and watching. So the question is, what can other people do to show their solidarity with Palestine now? How would you encourage people to declare their solidarity today with Palestine?
Well, I can just tell you what we did and what I think, what effect we left. I think by going there, we showed that we cared for them. And we were invited by Sabil, a Christian Palestinian group. And
we have Omar listening and watching.
With us. Hi,
Yeah.
Omar. Yeah. We listened to them. I think it's important to hear their story. There is so much injustice going on, and we have to bring that out and show it. I don't know how we can affect and change things, but we can keep trying. And I keep trying. tell the story of the injustice, tell the story of the plight of the Palestinians, the injustice that they have been going through, and that we were able to live with the Israelis. But when the Zionists came, they don't want to live and let live. They just want to live there, and everybody either dead or out. They want it just for them. Whereas the land is for both and for everybody God has created. We can live in peace. We have to learn to live, to respect, love, listen to, and live and let live. And we listen to their stories, and they need someone to hear the stories. We saw what they were going through, the injustices. They can't travel freely. They have special roads, like Israelis can get from Jerusalem to Bethlehem in 10, 15 minutes. For a Palestinian, it takes an hour and a half on dirt roads, and that's if they have a permit. They're not allowed to go at their own will whenever they want. And they're usually not allowed to go. They have to have a permit. They can't go from Nablus to Jerusalem. My friend there is stuck. She can't go to see my cousin who was dying. She couldn't see her. And so we went there, we listened, we saw, and I think it's important to come back and to tell their story, to say what they're going through, and to show the injustices that are going on and the predicament, and how can they keep on killing and the world just watches.
Yeah. So I think we would like really to tell everyone, come and see, come to Palestine, even at times like this.
And go and tell.
And go and tell, because we want the story to get out, hoping that those who have ears will hear, but often we feel that the word is deaf. They have ears, but they don't listen, and they don't want to act to end this genocide. And this complicity is something that is really a burden to many Palestinians. But Lucy, you are amazing. You know, you are so young and, you know, in spirit, that you are able, you know, to finish your memoir, so that your story is shared not only with your grandkids, but also with the world. And you know, the story of the Armenian people, the story of the Palestinian people is really important, and we need these stories to keep coming out from Palestine. So thank you for writing this. Thank you for your time with us. And I give the floor now to Tracy.
Well, Lucy, again, thank you. Your story was so impactful that I think you left everybody awestruck. We don't have any additional questions. I think they're just taking in your full story and your beautiful artwork. So I would like to thank both you and Mitri for all the information you shared with us today. And friends, we thank you for joining us. We had a nice crowd today, and it has been a joy sharing this time with you. As we wrap up, I want to remind you about Lucy's new book, Divine Encounters, Memoirs of an Armenian Palestinian Painter from Jerusalem and Beyond. As we mentioned, it is on sale on Amazon, both paperback or Kindle. And so far, 76 copies have been sold in just the past 4 months, and we expect that number to skyrocket after this webinar. You have your code on the screen. Please go get your copy. While you're purchasing that book, we invite you to check out the children's books that Lucy has illustrated, and those are God is with us always, even in a pandemic, and God is with us always, even in a tsunami. And if you are leaving this event wishing that you could hear more of Lucy's story, you are in luck. We know of Lucy's video that she produced several years ago. It's a 30-minute video about her family, her life, and what Palestine was like when she was growing up. And we will share that video, which is titled My Jerusalem, with today's recording in that email we will send in the next few days. I want to take a moment again. Lucy, thank you so much, especially for the painting you donated to us last year for the gala. It was very special to us. It was titled The Nativity, and that's coming up on the screen. And for those of you that remember, we raffled this piece off to support our DAK students. And it was also used for the front of our Christmas card. So a wonderful greeting at the end of last year. And speaking of the gala and support for that, this year's event will be on September 7th at 7 p.m. Central. And it's a great way for you to come and join us in supporting our students as they build brighter futures. To support us for that evening, you can donate today, or in the next few days, we are launching our raffle with 9 fabulous prizes, and you will be able to buy tickets for those. You can email us about hosting a solidarity gathering that evening. We will be hybrid, going live from Minnesota, but we have gatherings across the United States and would love to have you host one. Or you can join us for the gala on September 7th at 7 p.m. Again, scan that nice QR code on your screen to register. And friends, as we wrap up, DAK is currently facing so many challenges right now, and our students really need your support. Help be the hope for them and their families. And we are asking you to donate today and through the rest of the year. Show your support. Your money goes to things like scholarships, the Hospitality Education Center that we hope to open in January, and general operating funds for Dar al-Khalima University. There is no overstating how vital your support is today. So please give what you can when you're able. We appreciate you so much. And thank you for continuing to be the hope for the next generation of creative leaders in Palestine. Take care, friends.